Hello, world. With the recent rainy weather lately, it may feel like summer is long gone. But in the hopes of hanging on to those sweet summer memories, I'm going to be talking about my trip around British Columbia, Canada this July. Those of you who have might heard me talk before will have known that I've done a fair bit of international traveling. So I felt like with the time off that I had this summer, I should go explore my home province, British Columbia. And there's a slogan here, and it's true. British Columbia truly is the best place on earth. I hope that after you hear about my experiences, the next time you have some vacation, you will choose to travel around here. I went on this trip with my partner and our old dog Bear, and we did a mixture of camping and hotels. We covered a lot of ground in 2 weeks. British Columbia is huge, but I'm just going to touch on two different places where I think everyone should go, and that's the Sunshine Coast and Glacier National Park. We also went up to Whistler and into the interior, Kamloops, Kelowna, Peachland, but that'll have to wait for another time. So, the Sunshine Coast. You take a beautiful ferry boat ride from Horseshoe Bay, northern Vancouver, over to Gibsons. Now you're still on the mainland, but you have to take a ferry to get there. Once you arrive in Gibsons, it's about a 30-minute drive to Sechelt. Sechelt is a small town. We were there for Canada Day, and we went to a pancake breakfast where the whole community came out. Everyone kind of knew everyone. Everyone's super friendly. It's kind of that small town feel, and that's really nice. There is a lot of hiking to do there, and it's all along the coastline, so it's beautiful. We camped 3 nights right along the beach, and it is wonderful. One of the things that Sechelt is famous for is the kayaking, and that's kind of why we went. We wanted to check out the kayaking, and let me tell you, we weren't disappointed. If you haven't kayaked before, this is the perfect place to do it because it's kind of in an inlet, so it's calm water. I've kayaked before. I'm quite a water person, but my partner hadn't. So we got a guide, and they spend about 30 minutes with you on shore, going over safety procedures and showing you how the boat works. Once you get in the water, on the day that we went, it was totally calm, totally clear, beautiful sunny day, and it's like gliding on glass. It's really easy, just a couple strokes and you're off. We stayed quite close to the shoreline, so that means you see all these kinds of wildlife, like fish and starfish, and we saw sea otters, a sea lion. It's beautiful, and you can even kayak camp going up the coast. There's little campsites you can stay in. That's what we want to do next time. If you haven't been kayaking, I strongly recommend it. It's not scary, you don't really get too wet, and it's a really good time. So if you haven't been to the Sunshine Coast, you should go. If you're planning to come to BC, this is a perfect place to go. The next place I want to talk about where we went on this trip was Glacier National Park. Now, Glacier National Park is in between a town called Revelstoke and a town called Golden in British Columbia. And I'm telling you, this might be the most breathtaking mountains and glaciers you'll ever see. Glacier National Park was established in 1886, and it's known for what's called the Great Glacier. It's been drawing tourists in for over 100 years. And if you ever have a chance to see it, you will realize it's magnificent. Now, we camped right in Glacier National Park at a federal campsite, and I strongly recommend doing this. Federal campsites are probably the best kind of campsites and what I've experienced. There's federal campsites, provincial campsites, and private campsites. Federal campsites are so lovely. They're so well kept. There's free firewood. There's park rangers that do activities on the weekend. In the evening. So stay in a Canadian federal park if you can. Now, there's so many different hikes to do in Glacier National Park. We picked a moderate hike called the Great Glacier Hike, and I would say we only went 30% up the mountain. When you go into the parking lot, you see people that are really avid hikers because they're probably going a lot higher because they have spiked shoes. So they're probably going up into the icy, snowy parts. There is snow up there. So We started at the bottom, and at the bottom it's forest and beautiful flowers. You go over some rivers and streams. If you go a bit higher, then there's switchbacks and pebbles. And it's not that hard because you can stop and there's beautiful views. Now there is snow up there, even just at the bottom at Glacier National Park, even in July. And as you go up, there's a little bit of snow. Now when you get to the top of this great glacier hike, you come to a glacier river. And let me tell you, it is the nicest, most refreshing, beautiful tasting water you will ever taste. And it's safe to drink. It's glacier water, right? And you just look around and it's just a 360 of mountains. I haven't been to the Swiss Alps, but I'm assuming this is what they are like. And actually, back in the 1800s and early 1900s, they used to bring over Swiss mountaineers to show the tourists. You will not be disappointed if you go to Glacier National Park. And I hope that you can visit it. I want to talk to you about the rest of the 80% of my trip, about Whistler, about Kelowna, about Kamloops, but that'll have to wait for another time. So if you do come to Canada, why not come to the best place on earth, British Columbia?